I move the amendment in the name of myself and Councillor Knowles with the following change, so that in the second paragraph of our amendment would now read as follows. Antisocial behaviour is a major issue in several communities across Birmingham, and reports of antisocial behaviour are best dealt with by local teams. As a council, we have declared a climate emergency and a cost of living emergency in recent years. Sadly, underpinning both these emergencies is a housing emergency. The shortage of and poor state of our housing stock impacts on poverty, health, and a host of related modern ills in our city. And of course, the vast amount of fossil fuels wasted heating poorly insulated homes is a major contribution to the carbon emissions that fuel climate change. Many of the causes of this are external to this council, and so our amendment recognises this by calling on the government to create the financial environment necessary to enable this council to build sufficient new carbon-neutral housing for social rent, to eliminate the need for mass temporary housing to cover the shortfall. And the fact that we've got well over 4,000 households currently in temporary accommodation in this city is truly shocking and of itself constitutes a housing emergency. And I want to emphasise what I've said many times before. It is socially rented housing we need, much more than affordable housing, because for those in the greatest housing need, affordable housing isn't affordable. But it's right that we should focus on the quality of our own housing management. We shouldn't allow the failures of central government to cover for our own. And doing so, our amendment shines a light on how we manage antisocial behaviour on our housing estates. There's an awful lot that we agree with in the original Conservative motion and indeed in the amendment put by the Greens. But we wanted to move the debate on into other areas while we're discussing housing. And the point of the second paragraph, which we've agreed to change on consultation with the Labour group, is to put some focus on antisocial behaviour. There's a number of different aspects of that I think we do need to look at. The one written in the amendment is that it's my experience that what tends to happen is if a resident phones in with an antisocial behaviour, say for the sake of argument that it relates to a property that's in management by the City Council Housing Department, it goes to a central contact point, and that filters out what action should be done with it. Some of them come to the local housing team, some don't, and I think that's an important issue that needs to be dealt with. I think any complaint that relates to a City Council house should go directly to the local teams. There certainly needs to be a triage system as to how we manage the initial contact from antisocial behaviour, but it's vital that those who are responsible for managing the stock hear that original complaint as quickly as possible. Of course, initial intervention won't always work, but when it doesn't, we need to put firmer actions in place. One of my residents, who was happy to have his name given today, but I guess it's probably better if I don't, complains the back of his home, reeking of cannabis smoke, has shown me footage of the police interrupting what for all the world looked like drug dealing on the verge to the front of his home, and men with baseball bats coming to his neighbour's door. Again, for all the world, as if they're sorting out one of those deals that hasn't quite gone as they anticipated, shall we say. Other nearby residents have shown me footage of the wide grass verge outside their home being destroyed by quad bikes spraying mud all over the roads and nearby cars. Petitions have been submitted, meetings held, and yet we don't seem to have the tools to stop this. All that's happened is that the tenant has been written to, and that's it. And of course, they've quickly realised that that doesn't amount to further action isn't going to happen, so they carry on with whatever it is they're doing. The only hope that seems to be there is whether the offences carried out become sufficiently serious for the Crown Prosecution Service to agree that they can be arrested. And we must have a more effective system in place to deal with what comes in between an initial case of antisocial behaviour and someone being guilty of criminal acts. And it's not just our social housing that is the issue. Councillor Knowles will discuss the issues caused by lack of accountability in our mega housing associations, which are so far distant from what housing associations were originally set up as small, local, accountable bodies that, by and large, did a fantastic job. We've now got these mega 20, 30, 40,000 tenant housing associations, which I guess have merged to save centralised costs, but in doing so have become more and more remote from their tenants, but also, at times, impervious to complaints from us. And we need to look at the greater use of CCTV. This has been removed from a lot of our stock in terms of entrance lobbies for what I think are probably spurious GDPR reasons. And that has taken out another tool in how we handle antisocial behaviour. So, Lord Mayor, I move our amendment and look forward to the rest of this important debate. Thank you.